Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We're calling this meeting to order at 5:10. This is the Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 board meeting of the El Monte City School District Board of Education. We apologize for the delay in starting the meeting. We were having some problems with our parts of our system shutting down, but thank you to those who got it going again. So we are starting a new practice. This is just our second month doing it, in which we include a student in getting our meeting started. And so today we have a representative from Scherpser School, and I'll let Dr. Garcia make some introductions.
Thank you, President Rivas. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce Martin Albor. He is a sixth grade student from Scherpser School and has attended Scherpser since the age of 4 at Head Start. And I think it's very appropriate because we're recognizing 2 of our Head Start rock stars this evening. Martin has consistently demonstrated remarkable initiative, integrity, and dedication in the classroom or on the field. He is a proud member of the Soccer for Success program, playing and representing Scherpser School so well. This year, Martin was elected by his fellow classmates as Student Lighthouse President. His inclusive leadership style has created a sense of belonging and unity among Scherpser students, which is truly admirable. When he grows up, Martin hopes to become a firefighter, and he aspires to be a fire chief, and we hope that he can do so here in the city of El Monte. At this time, he is going to lead us in the flag salute, and it's a very special opportunity for him because his older sister had the opportunity to lead the flag salute here at a board meeting when she was in 3rd grade, so he's continuing in his family tradition. I present to you Martin Albor from Scherpser School.
Please stand up for the flag salute. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which that stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
No, wrong one. Those are your notes. Nobody look. Yeah. There you go. You can use, he'll use that one, and then you'll use that one.
Good evening, President Rivas, fellow board members, Dr. Garcia, and cabinet members. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Veronica Ortiz, and I am the principal of Scherpser Elementary School. I'm really happy to be here tonight, full of pride and enthusiasm, just to let you know some of the great things that are happening at Scherpser. I will let you know that everything we do at Scherpser, it's a collaboration between parents, students, and everyone. So my co-presenter is Martin, who you met earlier.
Good evening. My name is Martin Albor, and I am representing the student body president at Scherpser. As the Lighthouse president, it is my job to listen to students and find out what they need to go to school.
No, you're okay. One of the hallmarks of our school is our commitment to academic excellence. Our curriculum is designed to challenge students at every level and instill in them a love of learning. As you can see by some of the pictures, we believe that students learn better by doing, and as they engage with the curriculum. See, I'm nervous too.
We are exposed to different subjects like math, science, language arts, and social studies. Through these subjects, we are taught to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills.
If you look at the pictures, we have our Lego robotics program that serves all the way our students from TK all the way to sixth grade. We also have our Saute Academy cooking class. And we also were able earlier this year to bring the La Brea Tar Pits Mobile Museum onto campus. It was a great opportunity for our students to engage with fossils while they learned about them. Additionally, in January, we were able to send about over 40 students to outdoor science school.
Earlier this year, we went to outdoor science camp and we got to learn about science and learn to be independent because we were without our families for 2.5 days.
At Sherpser, our students are empowered to become confident, compassionate, and responsible leaders. We were the first school in the El Monte City School District to be certified as a Lighthouse School in 2019. Since then, we've actually been recertified twice. So we're really excited that at our school, we're able to cultivate a culture of student leadership.
We are provided with opportunities to take on leadership roles in clubs, organizations, and community service. For example, Lego robotics, Canva art, photography, mariachi, tumbling, crafting, yearbook, saute, and golf, just to name a few.
If you look at the pictures on here, at the beginning of the school year, we survey our students and we ask them what kind of clubs they want to have on campus. So the kids or students choose the clubs, they run the clubs, they do all the publicity for the clubs. In one of the pictures you see, our students are designing a poster for the yearbook cover contest. So we actually have an yearbook group that will design our yearbook, but then the students will decide on the cover themselves and design the cover. Basically, at our school, the students run the school. Like I said earlier, everything is done in collaboration or as a team. Together with parents, community partners, we're providing students with the resources, support, and the opportunities for them to reach their full potential.
At our school, parents participate in our Parent Lighthouse team and our parent volunteers. If you could take a look to this left picture, you could see a picture of our Parent Lighthouse. And the top right picture, you could see some of our parent volunteers.
And additionally, in the middle, we have resources, community resources that we're able to bring onto campus during our back to school night, our open house, any opportunity where we have an evening event, we like to invite them to come in. Also earlier, we don't know who, but somebody nominated Sherpser School to be a recipient of Helpful Honda's Acts of Kindness, and they came onto campus and donated a free book to every student. At Sherpser, we also focus on a whole child approach and incorporate social emotional learning into everyday activities because we know that students who have strong social emotional competencies are better able to focus on learning, manage their time effectively, and also persist in the face of challenges. So we're constantly teaching our students leadership skills and also life skills through the 7 habits. We're promoting kindness throughout the campus, either with kindness campaigns or just through everyday teaching. And when we know the learning gets a little stressful, we teach our students some de-stressing strategies like yoga in the classroom, as you can see in the pictures.
On behalf of our Sherpser students, I would like to invite you all to some upcoming events. On March 13th, we will be having our open house where we will be able to showcase our clubs and celebrate that our school was recertified as a Lighthouse School. On March 26th, our student performers will showcase their acting talents by performing Frozen, the musical.
So we do hope you are all able to mark your calendars, save the dates, and join us for these special upcoming events. Thank you for the opportunity to share what's happening at Sherpser School.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful presentation. We'll move on to items of interest. Our first item of interest are Golden Apple Award recognitions. I will turn it over to Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, President Rivas. Tonight, we're gathered with immense pride and joy as we celebrate this remarkable achievement for our district. Not only do we have one Golden Apple recipient, but we have two Golden Apple recipients in the crowd. And without further ado, it's Raquel Barber and Arlene Lujan. And I do want to say that this is quite an accolade and just quite an achievement. Los Angeles County Board of Education celebrated both of these exceptional teachers for their outstanding work in the classroom and in the community. And it's just such a source of pride for us to have you here and to recognize you. I'd like to invite Mr. Juan Castillo to come on up and say a few words about each individual employee, and then we'll have an opportunity to celebrate and thank them for their remarkable service.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good evening, Board President Rivas, board members, Dr. Garcia, administrators, and guests, friends and guests. It is a pleasure to bring to you this evening two amazing child development educators that are being honored tonight for earning the Golden Apple Award for their amazing work with our young students and families. These special teachers provide engaging environments in the classroom that increase learning and help students flourish as they develop and strengthen their school readiness skills. First, I would like to present Ms. Arlene Lujan, who was recognized by the LA County Board of Education on January 11, 2022 for the Golden Apple Award. Ms. Lujan is the Head Start teacher at Wilkerson School and has dedicated herself to the children and families in this community for over 32 years. Arlene has worked with parent volunteers, the community, and staff, and always teaches the students with enthusiasm and takes every opportunity and moment to thrive and show children to be the best that they can be by promoting acceptance, kindness, caring for one another, and introducing problem-solving skills where children feel safe. Arlene has presented at the National Head Start Conference and at professional development training in our program. According to her supervisor, Ms. Mina Diaz-Huerta, Arlene is a great leader, role model, and mentor to our Head Start teachers and is truly an extraordinary teacher who ensures all children and their families receive high-quality services in all areas. Next, I would like to present Ms. Raquel Barber. Ms. Barber, who was recently recognized by the LA County Board of Education on January 16, 2024 for the Golden Apple Award. Ms. Barber is an early Head Start teacher at the Jeff Seymour Family Center and has dedicated herself to the children and families in the community for over 22 years. Raquel has positively impacted the life of children and families, and 3 years ago, she expanded her teaching background, her teaching profession, by transitioning to the Early Head Start program, where she is currently working with toddler-aged children. Raquel goes above and beyond, ensuring all students obtain maximum learning experiences while reaching their developmental milestones and acquiring the school readiness skills they need. Ms. Barber has excellent and effective communication skills when communicating with colleagues, children, and program staff. According to her supervisor, Ana Heredia, Raquel works exceptionally well with her teaching team by role modeling and ensuring children receive individualized quality of care by promoting a safe, well-maintained, and healthy classroom environment. Her DRDP observations and portfolios are excellent and well-written and have been used to train newly hired teachers and assistant teachers. In January 2021, Ms. Barber's classroom was selected to showcase the first Early Head Start classroom in our program. I present to you Ms. Raquel Barber and Ms. Arlene Lujan. Would you please step forward? And Dr. Garcia, I'll let you.
Thank you. And on behalf of the board, we have some certificates that we'd like to present to you, and I'd like to invite the board to come forward so we can take a picture. And I do want to point out that both of our recipients brought their awards from LACO this evening to share. So it's an opportunity for us to take a look and also, again, continue the celebrations.
just a little bit more. So you two walk by this space right there. There we go. Perfect. Everybody, come on in. Thank you. A little closer. Here we are. There we go. All right, there we go. 1, 2, and 3. Wonderful. Very nice. Phones.
Thank you for being here. It's really wonderful to be able to celebrate with you. Our next item of interest, LA County Public Library Bookmark Contest winner. We have a student to celebrate this evening, and Dr. Garcia, I'll let you introduce her.
Thank you, President Rivas. Our next honoree tonight is an 8th grader from Durfee School. Miss Jenny Wong recently participated in the Los Angeles County Library Annual Bookmark Contest and was selected as District 1 winner by LA County Board Supervisor Hilda Solis. As you can see up on the screens, we have an image of her award-winning bookmark. Jenny is an advanced honor and student and advanced reading club. She has officially joined the Millionaire Words Club at Durfee at this point in the school year. And with all that reading, many of her teachers commend her for her creative writing abilities and her artistic abilities. She truly is a joy and a pleasure to teach and to work with at Durfee School. And so at this point, I'd like to invite Jenny Wong to come up so we can recognize her for this outstanding recognition. And if I can ask the board to step up, and we'll take a picture with Jenny as well.
I don't know if it'll zoom in, but maybe. Well, but if you can hold it. I put one up there. If I could somehow. One on the other side also. There you go. Yeah. Hold it like this, like that. I want my back.
Mr. Yepes, can you join us, please? Our principal's also here with us.
I know we'll get the parents to come afterwards. So come on in, you first. Yeah. Nice. Can't get away with that. All right, here we go, you guys. 1, 2, and 3. Very nice. All right, we go 1, 2, and 3. Very nice. Parents, come up. I'll take a picture for you. Got it, Dr. Money? Need help?
Congratulations again. Before we move on to communications, I would like to go back in the agenda. I skipped over doing our roll call. So although we were all here, I just missed doing that. So I will go ahead and do that now. Roll call is Mrs. Cobian,
Present.
Mrs. Flores,
Present.
Mrs. Mendez Garcia,
Present.
and Mr. Segrist.
Present.
And Rivas, I am present as well. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is communications. We have 2 people that would like to give public comments. The first is Kyle Cappy.
Good evening. I'm sorry.
Good evening, board members, district administration. I just wanted to make a couple comments about the dual language program at Durfee. I just want to express my gratitude at the support the district has given at the board member level, at the district level, at the school site level. I'm a teacher at Durfee, but also I've chosen to send my kids to the school as well. I know I'm not the only person here that has sent their kids to the school as well. I know there's a few people, and it's done a really good job for it. I've had it. I went to private school. My wife has gone to private school. My wife teaches Spanish at private school. We live in a pretty good area where a pretty good public school, but I still chose to send it with me to El Monte City School District. I grew up coming to El Monte School District. I didn't attend it, but my mom taught in the district for 30 years. She still works contracts with the district. My dad went to Cherry Lee for kindergarten in 1959. So I've been around the district for a long time, and I'm very glad to work here. One thing I will say, working at Durfee, we have this beautiful junior high building. They've redone the beautiful twin brick buildings. It would be really nice to see the portables improved to something that's not portables for the students to also attend. I've taught in portables. They do have some advantages where you can staple anything to the walls anywhere. That's about the only advantages they have to the portables compared to another classroom. But yeah, so that would be nice to see at Durfee, just for the students. I mean, selfishly for my kids, but also for all students to be able to have. Obviously, my son is a third grader. Probably won't see that next year as a fourth grader in 6 months, but that is something that I hope you take into consideration for future students as well, with everything that's done. But that's my comment. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. And our second speaker this evening is Gloria Delphine.
Good evening, school board members and superintendents. My name is Gloria Delphine, and I'm the El Monte Elementary Teachers Association president. I just wanted to address you today just to let you know that we're having a great year in regards to working with the district. And we really appreciate how we've been really working together to find solutions to some of the problems that we've been having this year. And we trained our representatives this year, so we were able to sub them out. And I appreciate the district working with us so we can do that, because that's opening some more communication at our school sites with our representatives and our administrators to find solutions at our school site for things going on specifically at each school site. We're also going to start bargaining for this school year. So we look fair to fair and equitable and comparable salary and benefits. And again, we really appreciate that we have this communication with the district, and we've been setting up some really good meetings. So we're going to be talking about special ed that we're meeting. We've been discussing, how to address different behaviors at our school sites and working together to find solutions and how it's going to be different at each school site. And so we also invite any of the school board members who ever want to attend any of our rep council meetings to hear from our members. You're always welcome to our rep council meetings. And again, thank you so much for your time, and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming and hearing from you. Are there any written communications?
No written communication has come forward.
Okay, then we will move on to cabinet reports.
All right, well, President Rivas and governing board members, this evening we have a lofty presentation for you that highlights many of the wonderful things that have taken place since we last met, as well as some updates to events that will be coming up. And I just want to highlight this opening image here. We had two wonderful celebrations in the last few weeks, recognizing the Lunar New Year. New Lexington kicked us off at the beginning of the month, and it was just a really beautiful celebration. Community came together to celebrate. The following week, Durfee had their Lunar New Year celebration. And again, just a tremendous opportunity to celebrate the diversity and the beautiful cultures in our community. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Herrera so he can kick us off with business services updates.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. As we look at some exciting legislation that was passed at the federal level and something that the state of California has piggybacked onto, one of 35 states that is expanding the EBT program. So it's something that was piloted the past few years. We saw it come up during the pandemic. There was a couple different rounds of that, and many students here in the Del Monte community benefited from that and families. There is approximately 21 million kids in U.S. that will benefit from this federal initiative. California, I guess you could say, was one of the early adopters, and one of 35 states to permanently implement this. So it's going to go into effect on a permanent basis this upcoming summer. And families that qualify can receive up to $40 per month during the summer session. So that's up to $120 over the summer per child. That can be utilized for grocery and other food purchases. We will still continue to offer summer meals at our schools over the summer, so that is something that's still available to those in the community, 18 and under. But this is good advocacy at the federal level, and it's good to see that the state of California is moving forward with this. And as we get a little bit closer to the summertime, we'll begin to communicate this out to families so they're aware of this program that they potentially would qualify for. And as we look at our attendance, our student attendance rates, they were much lower than anticipated. As we look back at I know it was rain today, but when we go back, I think it was about 2 weeks ago when we had much heavier rain. Typically, we see attendance in the mid to upper 90 percentile range. And our attendance rate obviously was impacted significantly. It was about in the low 80% range or so. It bounced back the following day to 90%, and it normalized about 2 days later. Because there was a state of emergency in place that the governor signed off on, we will have the opportunity to pursue the J13 waiver, and we hope to recover about $90,000 or so of attendance revenue. And so that is a waiver that we hope to never have to pursue, because we want the kids in the classroom learning and not missing out on instructional minutes. But rest assured that the business services team is pursuing maximizing our funding. So although our attendance rate wasn't what it was to be expected, the state of emergency allows us to go after additional, I wouldn't say additional funds that we would have received if the children would have attended that day. So that is the benefit of the state of emergency that was signed into law for that period of time. And as we pivot our attention to the state finances, I know the governor released the budget proposal last month, and the month of January got off to a very slow start. Tax revenues at the state of California level came in $6 billion under projection just alone for that month. So it's about 20% lower than what was projected. So these are projections that the governor and Department of Finance came out with a few weeks ago when they released the budget. And when they looked into that crystal ball and were projecting what they thought tax revenues are going to be for the month of January, which happened to be the month that they released the budget, they're already off by $6 billion. So they have time to make it up between February through June, the end of the fiscal year. However, this is pretty significant. The Legislative Analyst Office typically doesn't come out with an update to their projections, but last week they came out with an updated projection, and they're projecting the revenue shortfall to be $24 billion when you take into account the current fiscal year and next fiscal year. The impact to Proposition 98 or public school funding is estimated to be about $8 billion below what the governor projected for the upcoming year and the current year. So what are some of the recommendations that the Legislative Analyst Office is putting forward? They are recommending some of the scenarios to help clear up this projected shortfall, one of them being a 0% cost of living adjustment. As you remember, a few weeks ago, the governor came out with a budget proposal with a 0.74% COLA. So the Legislative Analyst Office is recommending for the legislature to consider a 0% COLA, because there appears to not be funding to even fund a 0.74% COLA. Some of the other things that are concerning are reductions that the LAO is proposing to the legislator to consider in correcting this budget shortfall, in pulling back funding in certain areas such as ELOP, school nutrition, transportation funding, special education, early intervention, and transitional kindergarten staffing. Of concern as well is the LAO has come out and indicated a potential solution to this budget shortfall is reducing some unallocated grant, one of them being community schools, which we recently submitted our application to earlier this month. And they are rejecting, as one of their proposals to the legislator to consider, all the one-time spending increases that the governor proposed. And it's not the best of news, right? And we hope that between the month of February and June, we turn it around with the tax revenues and we're in a better position. But they are advising the legislator to plan for further decreases in the Prop 98 and to begin identifying potential areas for budget reductions now, as opposed to waiting for the May revision and having a very short amount of time to come up with a balanced budget, because we all know the budget needs to be signed into law by June. So this information is hot off the press. LAO just came out with this updated information last week. They're presenting it to the legislator for their review, and the negotiations will kick off, and the legislator and the governor will have the fun task of trying to put forward a balanced budget by the time May revise comes around, and when that law gets, when the enacted budget gets signed into law by June 30th of this year. And as we pivot to the federal funding outlook, there was some concerning proposals that were put forward. One of them was recommending a reduction to educational funding at the federal level by 25% and a steep reduction to Title I funding by 80%. The good news is that is off the table. And although there is the threat of a government shutdown by March 1st, there was a bipartisan agreement to keep funding levels in place. There may be a slight reduction of about 1% to federal funding for public schools. So the pivot at the federal level is more so at making sure that funding can remain at the status quo. So we shouldn't necessarily expect an increase in funding from the federal level. I think the good times as far as school funding at the federal level, those days are over. When we look at the expiration of the ESSER funds, and it looks like the federal government is going back to their historical ways of funding public schools, right? So the deep cuts, it seems like, are avoided, and it looks like flat funding for the upcoming years. So that's all I have from Business Services.
Good evening, Governing Board. Wonderful things, as always, happening in educational services, beginning with a lot of learning that's taking place through professional development. Our teachers have been participating in science of reading professional development for our kinder through second grade teachers. Teachers have been participating in math lab days, which are really exciting because they work together to talk about what they will see in the class. They observe it in action with students and the teacher, and then they come back and debrief on what they saw, which teachers have shared that they really appreciate being able to see their colleagues in action. Our SAIL teachers and our intervention teachers went through GLAD training, guided language acquisition design, again to support language acquisition for all students, specifically our English learners. And then our third through sixth grade teachers have been going through some training using a supplemental material called Power Language to support our English learners. And those teachers are able to see demos of lessons. They receive coaching from the TOSAs, and then they have some planning time around what they've seen and what they need to do for next steps. We have a group of TOSAs and teachers that will be attending our Q conference, the Q conference in March in Palm Springs, with the number one topic of artificial intelligence. So they will be attending many sessions. I believe there were about 20 to 25 sessions specifically on artificial intelligence, how to utilize it in science, how to utilize it to support English learners, and a lot of other topics around it. And then our art lead teachers just went on a visit to the Cheech Museum in Riverside, with the hope to bring that diversity, that cultural piece of Chicano art back to the classroom and utilize that in creative writing, in art, and just art appreciation, and then even the techniques that they learned there. So that was a really exciting trip for them. Our site administrators continue to receive professional development in really strengthening our professional learning communities at our schools, and that's taking place through Solution Tree. And our administrators are going through instructional rounds where we have focused on specific focus strategies for language acquisition. And then we visit school sites and we walk around and we look at what is the teacher doing, what is the student doing, and what is the task, and how does that all apply to the focus strategies that will support language acquisition and making the curriculum accessible for all students. So that's been exciting as well. And these are just updates that I've already shared with you, but our trips are coming up very fast. We're very excited, teachers and students and families. All fourth grade students will be going the week of March 18th to Sacramento. And all of our eighth grade students are getting prepared the weeks of the 15th and the 22nd of April to go on their Washington, D.C. trip. And again, our many opportunities. You see some break dancing up there on the top. Football taking place. Swims is going to be starting up soon. And many other wonderful activities. Tumbling over at Scherpser. We're partnering with Parks and Recreation for volleyball and cheer. And we have Soccer for Success coming up as well. And additional updates. We just completed our spring conferences over the last couple of weeks. Our enrollment has begun for the 24-25 school year, again with expanding our transitional kinder window as well. And planning for summer enrichment is in the works. Applications for classified and certificated staff have already gone out, and pretty soon we'll be seeing the student applications going out as well. Our eighth grade students have pre-registered for high school, so it's that time of the year. We have many Read Across America events taking place over the next couple of weeks. And then our speech and debate, this is part of our expanded learning and enrichment programs. Our speech and debate team at Columbia are going to be competing against each other on the 23rd, which is this Friday at 4 o'clock. You're welcome to attend at Columbia School. And then save the date, we will be having a district-wide family math night here on Pi Day from 4:30 to 6:30 here in the boardroom.
Good evening, Board. Just a few updates from Personnel Department. I'm pleased to share with you that we are continuing our involvement within the Los Angeles County Office of Education's Teacher of the Year. And so that process actually got moved up earlier than it has been in the previous years. And so on March 1st, we'll begin that process. Just wanted to share with you our previous two winners, Elizabeth Torres and Jaime Reyes. Remember, this is now going to be barely our third year ever participating in this, and so we're excited that we're able to participate and looking forward to this year's recipient. And then next month, I'll share information regarding our Classified Employee of the Year, because we will continue with that program as well. And at a previous meeting, I'd shared information regarding our Aspiring Administrators Academy, and so we actually have held two sessions. One was a building culture, and you can see the top photo there, Dr. Garcia and myself, talking in regards to the culture and the background and the history of some of our district and the importance of our culture and moving forward and sustaining that aspect of it. And then we had Ed Services come in and do some talks regarding goal setting and what we look for in classrooms, and a lot of engagement and interactive amongst the candidates in the program. Upcoming is going to be budgeting and with business services, and then hiring in various legal aspects with HR. So we'll cover ed code and contract and how that applies to how we do our daily operations. And then just pleased to share that we have actually 22 participants in total. And so we have a great variety, some that have already completed their administrative credentials and others that are actually just interested in just sort of maybe dipping their toes and learning a little bit more and trying to figure out whether administration is something for them. And this is a great way that they can do that as well.
And lastly, I think I kick off my update with just some more pictures that highlight the wonderful Lunar New Year celebrations throughout the district. And I think we have a video that we're going to play, Mr. Dasmati. Again, kudos to New Lexington staff and Durfee staff for putting together two fantastic events. Very well attended from not just the school community, but the district community. All right.
Hi, I'm Helen Perez, principal of New Lexington School, here celebrating our Lunar New Year event. I'm proud to be hosting our Mandarin dual language program here, and tonight we will be showcasing a lot of different performances. We have our Durfee dancers coming to perform a Vietnamese dance, as well as our TK to third grade students performing, singing, and dancing, and then finally culminating with our lion dance. Hope everybody has a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Dasmati. Our next slide is a highlight to just really cool stuff happening around dual enrollment. And I want to give a little shout out here to Mr. Seagrass for continuing to nudge us to really think about opportunities with our neighboring community colleges. So we already have a dual enrollment with Rio Hondo College. It's taking place at Rio Hondo School. The class is thriving. It's been a wonderful opportunity for us to really get a sense of the opportunities and possibilities with dual enrollment. And once again, thank you to Mr. Seagrass. He was able to make a connection. And so we have a meeting set up with PCC to ensure that we can collaborate with PCC as well. So looking forward to bringing more opportunities and learning as a district for how we can continue to bring these opportunities for all of our students at all of our schools. We always give you lots of dates to walk away with at these meetings, so make sure that you jot down these dates and we'll remind the board, but this is really a big invitation to highlight our commitment to the arts and to music. Our Big Sing will be taking place on Tuesday, March 19th at Durfee School Gym, and this is an opportunity to bring all of our choirs together and showcase our wonderful music program. And then in addition to that, we're also going to be having our EMCSD Band Festival, May 23rd at 6 p.m., also at Durfee School. So thank you in advance to Durfee for hosting these big district events, but an opportunity for, once again, for us to highlight our commitment to music and the arts. And then just a couple more dates that I'd like for the board to add to the calendar. On March 15th, our PTA will be having their Founders Day at Durfee School, and we haven't had a Founders Day in many years as a result of COVID and the pandemic. And so this is an opportunity to bring this wonderful event back where we get to highlight outstanding educators and volunteers in our school community that make our district thrive. So more information to come. And then lastly, I do want to thank the City of El Monte for recognizing our board members. We do have certificates that Mr. Seagrass was able to bring back on behalf of the City of El Monte from, I believe, let's see, Susan Rubio and the City of El Monte, recognizing school board members, as well as a resolution that was shared that evening recognizing School Board Recognition Month for the month of January. So I'll be sharing these with the board, and I just want to thank the City of El Monte for recognizing our board members.
Thank you very much. It's time now for our board members' communications, and we'll begin with Mrs. Kobian.
Thank you, and I want to thank all of our guests and honorees tonight. It's just so wonderful to hear about all the different and unique and just very inspirational things that are going on in our district. I just want to say I got to attend the Lunar New Year celebration at Durfee, and it really was a wonderful community event, very well attended. And just the celebration went through the whole extent of the time. I think it was from like 4 to 7, and people were still there at 7, still having a great time. And it's so great to see everyone coming together to celebrate the different cultures in our community, the diversity, and then just the accomplishments of our students. So seeing the student performers and all of that was really wonderful. And then other than that, just looking forward to, I think we have some read-alouds coming up this month or in March, which will be always look forward to as a board member, and definitely some of these other celebrations, the musicals, the performances, and all of that. So thank you. That's my comments for tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Flores.
Good evening, everyone. So first off, I want to thank those that came up and shared some positive notes from the district. I think it's definitely always nice. We appreciate the feedback that people give us, but it's also nice to hear the positive things within the district community and things that, we're doing well as well. So thank you for that. Definitely a big shout out to all the staff, district staff, teachers, administrators who are, putting in all the hard work for us to receive these positive comments. So thank you all. And then I also look forward to the community events, the Lunar New Year celebration. That was wonderful to see. I wasn't able to attend in person, but saw some of the pictures online. So also looking forward to other events within the next coming weeks and months. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mrs. Mendez Garcia.
Okay. Good evening, board and audience. Something I want to share today is obviously as a board member, part of our work is advocacy, and also when we attend CSBA and conferences, right, we're learning about what other districts are doing, right, bringing that in. And so one of the great things about being a board member, but also working in another school district, is being able to advocate in that way as well. Just for example, last year, the special education team here in El Monte City School District, I shared with them about the preschool assessment model that Norwell Camarada does. So then I was able to create that connection, create that so that they were able to visit and then implement that here in the Monte City School District. I heard it's going very well, that new assessment model. So vice versa, I'm always sharing about the great things El Monte City School District is doing. And as part of my role in special education, I was able to bring 2 of our members to visit the El Monte City School District, and also we went to the El Monte Unified High School District. We visited Arroyo High School. And so the purpose of it was we wanted, again, to see what the different special education models are and services in El Monte City School District and the high school. And I'm also going to be going to neighboring districts as well, because it's just so important that we take those opportunities to see what other districts are doing, because there's things that we could be doing better, and then things as well that we could take away back to our district. So I really want to thank our director, Dr. Munoz, our special ed coordinator, Ms. Southall, for coordinating that visit to Columbia School. Thank you, Mr. Flores. And we were able to see the elementary model, what they were doing with their special education services, with their SAIL, the specialized academic instruction. And I did want to highlight that at the middle school level, that they're taking the initiative already this year of doing co-teaching, right? So with that model, you have the general education teacher and a special education teacher in the same classroom working together to teach the class. And what's great is that it not just supports and not just supports the students with an IEP, but it supports all students because we know all students benefit from different strategies and differentiated instruction. And so they were able to share with us how they kind of started it and how they hope to grow it. Right now, it's just with 8th grade ELA, and they hope to expand it. So again, I know that's one of our discussion points about how our special education services, our model, and this really supports the work of that least restrictive environment and ensuring our students are receiving that core instruction. So it was great to see that. And then we were also to go visit Arroyo High School. And thank you to the SPED director for helping coordinate that to kind of seeing as well. Then when they transition, right, our students transition to the El Monte City Unified School District, what then that looks like for their special education services, okay? In addition to that, we were also able to meet with the TOSA team because I had shared all the work our TOSAs are doing in El Monte City School District. So again, I wanted to give them a kudos that they are just doing a phenomenal job. My team, my 2 people were just blown away, but the amount of resources and training and support that they're giving all teachers, right? My team specifically asked about special education. They were so equipped to say, we're making sure that our special education teachers are included in all of our professional development and all of our training because we want to make sure that our students in special education are always first receiving that core instruction. So it was great to see that. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Segrist.
I hope I don't overwhelm everyone with the information about community colleges. I'm delighted to know that I'm sitting with people who are alumni of community colleges. I believe Christina went to ELAC, Dr. Garcia went to Citrus, and I found out that our wonderful El Monte Union High School District Superintendent, Dr. Zuniga, he attended Mount Sac, Citrus, and Rio Hondo. And I beat him because I went to Chaffey Community College, Mount Sac, PCC, and Rio Hondo. And I'll keep going. I did a lot of research today, and I was very proud to see that I Googled dual enrollment at Rio Hondo on our web, and it came up right away that we're starting to do that. At the same time, I went into Pasadena City College, and I saw that South Pasadena Middle School right now, today, had 32 students enrolled, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in Spanish literature, which means they're getting 3 units credit, university college credit, when they're not even out into high school yet. And I pushed dual enrollment for the following reason. It's early learning. The family gets involved. I meet so many people. I met some ladies the other day in their 40s. I assume that. They didn't know they could go to community college without a high school diploma. They said, oh, I can't go there. And when I tell people, a lot of immigrants, especially Hispanics, the word colegio in other countries means high school. They don't understand this first 2 universities. What a great savings. And I will say that I'm so proud of the fact that we have 2 community colleges in our district. Only not 1, but 2. My 2 grandsons, David is graduating from USC in 3 years because of PCC and Rio Hondo. Pepe is graduating from Berkeley 3 years because he attended community college. And people need to start early like we're doing now with the dual enrollment. 1. 2, dual immersion in language. I would encourage all of you, if you haven't done this, go online. It's totally safe. Go to YouTube and type in fairy tales. Last night I was entertained by wonderful fairy tales in English, Spanish, Tagalog, Mandarin, and Thai, which I happen to be a proficient Thai linguist. They are wonderful resources for our families. Get the kids off of TV, get them into the use of the internet. Also, any of you that speak Spanish, if you want to keep your kids alive in Spanish, go to Cuentos de Hadas with an H and do the Kirikiri website. All of you may not know this, maybe some of you do. Kirikiri was the inspiration for Jiminy Cricket. And when Gabilondo Soler was offered the job to come here from Walt Disney, he said, no, me quedo, I stay in Mexico because I'm a Mexican. Anyway, these resources are there. I found out the Khan Academy, totally free and safe. Everything you want to learn in school from kindergarten to the university. And the Spanish version is aprende.org, everything you want to learn. So that, and also I have to correct something. I watched a recent presentation of the Board of Trustees live from our high school district, and a board member who is proficient in math was complaining that some of the feeder schools are giving kids, enrolling students in the high schools that can't even do division. And my response back is, I'm so proud of our instructors in all levels of our schools. I know how proficient they are in everything, including math. So I will correct that publicly and say, if the feeder schools are sending in there, they're not coming out of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you to all the board members for your comments. I would just like to echo what was said earlier about those who were recognized this evening and those who spoke to the board. It's wonderful to be able to celebrate with you for your successes and our students' successes, and to hear from parents, teachers, and the community as well. So thank you all for being here. At this time, it's time for us to move on to closed session. There are 2 items. Closed session number 1, consideration of approval of conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A, OAH number 2023110254, and closed session item number 2, pursuant to Government Code 54954.8, conference with real property negotiators, 11204 Asher Street, El Monte, California, 91731. Okay, I would like to resume the open meeting. We resume the meeting at 6:36. For closed session item number 1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.1A, OAH number 2023110254. During the just concluded closed session, the board voted to approve the settlement agreement for OAH number 2023110254. Motion made by Mrs. Cobian, seconded by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. There were 5 ayes and 0 nays. For closed session item number 2, no action was taken. Moving on to the approval of the minutes, it's time to consider the approval of the minutes for the January 22nd, 2024 meeting.
I'll move to approve.
Motion made by Mrs. Cobian,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Flores. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to the action consent agenda, are there any items that a board member would like to pull for separate consideration? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the action consent calendar?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Mendez Garcia,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. For our first action item, item number 1, CSBA Delegate Assembly Election Subregion 23B. There are 3 nominees for our subregion, and we get to select one as a board to cast our vote for. Are there any recommendations, or?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Mr. Aaron Simentel from Bassett Unified School District.
Very good. I think we can move forward with the motion, and then if that dies, then we can move on to another nomination. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion? I'll just ask if this is someone you happen to know from your
Yeah, I was
experience.
sure that, yes. I've interacted with him. I'm trying to remember the different various events, I think regarding school board. And so, yeah, so it was just someone that I've interacted with. And he's a young board member and very passionate about the work that he's doing. And so I definitely want to support him that his next, I remember him letting me know that he was interested in running for delegate. And so, yeah, I just want to support him in that way.
Very good. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So we will be passing along the name Aaron Cimental to the delegate assembly. Item number 2, consideration of purchase orders.
Thank you, Board Member Rivas. Before you is a purchase order report for the month of January. There's 372 purchase orders on there. It totals $1.5 million. Some of the purchases listed on there for your review are some new cafeteria serving counters for 9 of our schools. We have a couple hundred new Chromebooks that we're purchasing, also purchasing some summer school instructional materials. We purchased a few new ride-along lawnmowers for our ground staff. And we have also included in the report is some mail postcards advertising the upcoming enrollment for our Head Start families.
All right. Is there a motion to approve item 2?
I'll move to approve, sorry.
A motion made by
Started.
Mrs. Kobian,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Flores. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 3, consideration of approval to adopt Resolution 29-2420 proclaiming March 2024 as Arts Education Month.
Thank you, President Rivas. For your consideration this evening is a board resolution that proclaims March as Arts Education Month and acknowledges the significant role of arts education in fostering creativity, critical thinking, cultural appreciation, self-expression, and academic success among students.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 3?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Mendez Garcia,
I'll second.
I'll second that.
seconded by Mrs. Flores. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 4, consideration of approval to adopt Resolution 23-2421 proclaiming March 31, 2024 as Cesar Chavez Day.
Thank you. For your consideration this evening is a board resolution proclaiming March 31st, 2024 as Cesar Chavez Day. This resolution honors the life, work, and values of Cesar Chavez, a civil rights leader in California, and it emphasizes Chavez's contributions to fighting injustice and creating coalitions for civil rights.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 4?
I'll move to approve.
Motion made by Mrs. Kobian,
I'll second that.
seconded by Mr. Segrist. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to say thank you for including the fact that he served in the United States Navy.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And item 5, consideration of approval to adopt Resolution 23-2422 proclaiming March 21st, 2024 as International Day.
Thank you. For your consideration is board resolution proclaiming March 21st, 2024 as International Day. This resolution acknowledges the diverse student population in the El Monte City School District and emphasizes the importance of eradicating discrimination and intolerance of different cultures and ethnicities. It promotes peace, tolerance, and respect for national sovereignty and all nationalities.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 5?
I'll move to approve.
Motion made by Mrs. Kobian,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to remind everyone that next month is Irish American Heritage Month and that the Irish American people produced the greatest number of American presidents, including Barack Obama. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Is there, let's see, we did have a motion and a second, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, consideration of approval to adopt Resolution 23-2423 proclaiming March 2nd, 2024 as Read Across America Day.
Thank you. This resolution highlights the El Monte City School District's commitment to promoting reading as crucial for students' academic success, job market preparation, and global competitiveness. The resolution also acknowledges Read Across America, a national celebration promoting reading and adult involvement in education as a means to broaden perspectives, introduce new worlds, languages, and cultures, and cultivate empathy.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 6?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Flores. Any discussion?
Yes, I discovered lately that if you take a document, you put it in Word, you review it, and you can have it read aloud to you, and you can pick the language you want. It's incredible. Reading is so powerful.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And item 7, consideration of approval to adopt resolution 23-24-24, proclaiming March 2024 as Women's History Month.
Thank you. This resolution recognizes the significant contributions of women from diverse backgrounds to the triumphs and accomplishments of the United States. It acknowledges the critical roles women have played in the economic, cultural, and social spheres of the nation, including their contributions as labor force members and leaders in progressive social change movements.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 7?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Segrist.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Kobian. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We're moving on now to our final section of the agenda, well, almost the final voting section of the agenda, which is our board policy updates. So this will be our second reading of these policies, and I will go ahead and make the first motion on these, just to kind of keep it moving along, okay? So item number 1, consideration of approval of second reading of revised board policy 0410, non-discrimination in district programs and activities. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Kobian. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 2, consideration of approval of second reading of revised board policy 1160, political processes. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 3, consideration of approval of second reading of revised board policy 1312.2, Administrative Regulation 1312.2, and Exhibit 1312.2, Complaints Concerning Instructional Materials. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Flores. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 4, consideration of approval of second reading of revised board policy 13123 and administrative regulation 1312.3, uniform complaint procedures. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Kobian. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5, consideration of approval of second reading of revised administrative regulation 1312.4 and Exhibit 1, 1312.4, and Exhibit 2, 1312.4, Williams Uniform Complaint Procedures. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Kobian. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, consideration of approval of second reading of revised administrative regulation 3311 bids. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 7, consideration of approval of second reading of revised administrative regulation 33133, design build contracts. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Kobian. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 8, consideration of approval of second reading of revised board policy 3312 contracts. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And item 9, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Board Policy 3460, financial reports and accountability. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We'll say it was seconded by Mrs. Flores. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 10, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Board Policy 3551 and Administrative Regulation 3551, Food Service Operations, Cafeteria Fund. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 11, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Administrative Regulation 5144, Discipline. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 12, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Administrative Regulation 5144.1, suspension and expulsion due process. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 13, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Administrative Regulation 5144.2, suspension and expulsion due process, students with disabilities. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Segrist. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 14, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Board Policy 5145.3, non-discrimination harassment. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And item 15, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Board Policy 6161.1, Administrative Regulation 6161.1, and Exhibit 6161.1, Selection and Evaluation of Instructional Materials. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 16, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Board Policy 6161.11, supplementary instructional materials. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Flores. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 17, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Board Policy 6163.1, Library Media Centers. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Mendez Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Let's see, item 18, consideration of approval of second reading of new Board Policy 6173.4, Education for American Indian Students, delete Administrative Regulation 6173.4, Title VI, Indian Education Program. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion?
I have a question. At one point, it says American Indian, and then somewhere else it says Indian, so it should be American Indian everywhere, correct? Because Indian would be people from India, unless we put American Indian. I noticed that.
I think that's where it is being deleted. Is that what you're referencing?
Okay.
Yeah, any other discussion?
No.
Okay. Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 19, consideration of approval of second reading of revised Board Policy 6143 and Administrative Regulation 6143, courses of study. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Segrist. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 20, consideration of approval of second reading of Administrative Regulations 7140, Architectural and Engineering Services. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And item 21, consideration of approval of second reading of revised board bylaw 9124, attorney. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Segrist. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all. We made it through updating those board policies. And we do that periodically because laws constantly change, and so we need to constantly update our policies to match. So thank you all for that work. We're now moving on to the discussion session. And as you know, we have many items on our list to discuss as a board, including dual enrollment. We've talked about that a bit tonight, but that's still on our list. AI also. The strategic plan will be a really, really big thing that we try to tackle as a board and as a district community this year. So as we prepare for the strategic plan, we thought that it would be very good to revisit our equity policy, because it is the lens through which we would like to approach the strategic plan. And Christina Flores has been on the equity subcommittee along with myself, and it's been quite a while since we've brought a draft of the equity policy to the board. But it is here in our agenda tonight, and I hope you've all been able to read it a bit, and we're very open to hearing any comments that you have at this time.
I'll just say I think it is really great to see it kind of fleshed out, and appreciate the work that I know you've done that went into this and all the discussions that we've had. One question is, this is going to become a board policy that goes into our, just kind of like standard document, right? It's not something that's like presented to people.
No, this would be a policy similar to the policies that we just approved, that we would file under the board policies. But just to reiterate, I think President Rivas made a wonderful point. This will be the lens that we use to approach the strategic plan work. That's going to be a big focus for 2024 for all of us. And I think this really brings us, it helps us to just calibrate, right, along the lines of our conversations from a few years ago with Nicole Anderson around equity. And then we continued just talking about some other issues and aspects. And so this is an opportunity for us to just revisit, file this board policy, and then continue the work. It's never ending.
So I just a couple of just wording questions. So in the last paragraph before it gets to the bullet on school climate, it says, therefore the district will routinely evaluate student assets and needs. And I was wondering about the word assets. Is that meant to be like student competence, or is it strengths? It
would
seemed
be
very
strengths.
material.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was just my initial take, but again, that was just kind of curious about that word.
I think the idea is that we don't want to always be, it's countering deficit thinking, right?
Yes. Right, okay. Got it.
So then we talk about student assets, but certainly other words can be good in there.
No, I think it's fine. Or maybe strengths and assets or something like that. Yeah, just at least for me, it seemed very
abrupt.
Well, no, more like a concrete thing, like
Got it. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then going down under the bullet for teaching and learning, I was wondering if I don't know if this is the right section to put something in, but we talk about adopting curriculum and instructional materials, and maybe something highlighting like to promote like the highest levels of learning. Like these aren't just, we're not just adopting anything, it's with that goal in mind. So, you know, engaging students, promoting student success, but I think, at least in the way this sentence is, I think it's good, reflecting diversity, but I think we also want to remind that it's a very rigorous academic curriculum. So something like that, I would say. And then, let's see. It was also under teaching and learning, but the next, the one where it's highlighted, it said add experiences. But I was just wondering if we want to say ensure all students have the opportunity to enroll in there. And then, let's see, and then under family and community engagement, the third paragraph down, create a sense of urgency in student achievement. So do we want to say improving student achievement, or, because I wasn't sure what we're saying the urgency around achievement is meant to do. So something to that
Where it
idea.
says, create a sense of urgency in, and then you feel like there's something missing
Maybe like
there.
improving, or, you know, that was just the word that came to my mind, but I think anything in that vein would be great. And then I just wanted to say, I really liked from the beginning, the fourth paragraph where we say indicators of district success are engaged students and empowered students. I really liked, that was really powerful for me. So those were just my comments and thoughts as I was reading through it. And I think the parts that were highlighted where we're saying giving more input, I mean, I think those are good things to add to, but if anyone else has comments or suggestions.
Yeah, thank you. So the hope would be that we'd be able to bring back a first reading fairly soon. And so we really would like to get feedback on particularly those highlighted parts, right?
Okay.
I mean, all of it, as you've done, I appreciate. But those highlighted parts in particular, which, you know, I think there's room for board discussion there, right? Quite a bit of room for board discussion. So before we get to those highlighted parts, are there any other kind of more general comments or?
Yeah, a general comment I have is, I understand for the policy piece, right, we're able to really like add a lot of more detail, which we're doing right now. But I would also challenge us in certain areas, especially with the beginning piece, to see if there's areas we're feeling we're being a little bit repetitive, right? Because we want it to be impactful, right? And after someone reads the first paragraph, they're gonna kind of skim through the rest, right? Just naturally. And then I do like how then we have like the actions, like school climate, and this is what those, this is like what it looks like. So that would be my only general feedback. If there's any way that we could really look at it, if there's anything that we're noticing is a little bit repetitive. And then with that, I understand this was in policy, but I was just kind of like researching online, right? Like equity statements of school boards, like, do they have this information? And somewhat, I did see a pattern that there's usually just a paragraph, right? That they have selected, like their main paragraph, I'm sure their opener, that they include like in then their district website under school board, right? Like this is the school board's equity statement. So keeping that in mind, that if we could make that first paragraph kind of be like, this is our it statement of the policy, but also whether we're going to use then in our as a board as our commitment statement to equity. So that would be my only two comments on that. Obviously, you know, it hits on all the points, but yeah, just making sure that we're really hitting what the key things are with the first paragraphs.
Those are great. That's really great feedback. Thank you. Really good recommendations. Anything else before we get to those more specific highlighted parts? Okay, so I'll just begin by reading that the fourth paragraph that Mrs. Cobian was referencing, where I think that a lot of our discussions earlier about equity as a board kind of centered on some of these things. And so it's a nice opportunity to just start thinking again about the hopes and dreams for the students, right? So indicators of district success are engaged students who grow in readiness for college, career, and life, empowered students who recognize their personal strengths, supported students whose individual learning needs are met, inspired students who meet academic challenges with growing confidence. And then there's room, because I think in our discussions earlier as a board, when we were talking about equity, we talked about these other things that we want to see students experiencing and doing, including, so we have resourced family systems, positive social connections, whole child education. Are there things here in this list that you'd like to expand on? What kind of feedback do you have there?
I would say I like the positive social connection. So my thought was maybe if we add to that list to say connected students, and then kind of clarify that that would be, you know, with their school community, with their teachers. I don't have exact wording recommendations, but something in that, and also connected to their community, so that they, the idea of service, or the idea of, that they will one day be members of their community. So something in that strength.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that would be the only one additional one I'd recommend too.
Great. Anything else? Okay, good. And then moving on down the line. So we have, I'm looking at page 3, near the top of page 3, where it says, ensure students have opportunities to enroll in, participate in, and complete curricular and extracurricular courses, advanced college preparation programs, and other student enrichment activities. One word that's been used here in our board meetings is to make sure that students are having experiences, right? And we've often talked quite a bit about the arts and athletics as a board. So, so my question to you is, would you like to call out any of those things more specifically?
So my thought would be to actually take the term from the previous one of whole child. So maybe we just say experiences that support the whole child. That leaves it, kind of broad enough that things are included, but with that focus on, whether it's arts or sports or travel or whatever, that we're doing it intentionally under that section.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so just adding like other student enrichment activities that expand on whole child experiences.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you. Very good. Anything else there in that paragraph?
Only I would say that I'm in favor of repetition, because I'm learning that a lot of people today do not read. But if you repeat in there, if they missed it the first time, they get it the second time. So I've been accused of that repetition, but that's my take. Thank you.
And then there's that. Thank you. Yeah. Well, if you would continue to reflect on it, then, we'll bring back another version of this. But no, it's going to look quite a bit like this. So if you have other thoughts, then make sure you take note of them, bring them back. Okay, any other comments before we leave the discussion on the draft equity policy? Okay. Okay, very good. Then moving on to discussion items. Turn things over to Mrs. Flores.
All right. Good evening once again. Dear Dr. Maribel Garcia, fellow board members, and Dr. Pinedo, Herrera, and Salenbach. I do want to, with deep regret, I am formally submitting my resignation as of today. I am relocating outside of district boundaries. So unfortunately, I will not be able to serve within this community anymore. Although I will still be here within the community. My mother is here, my mother-in-law. I still have many family here. So this is, I'm not too far, but I will definitely be back. And I want to thank the board members, my fellow board members, for all their guidance. And really, when I didn't understand something or something was new to me, for explaining, what it was, especially in the classroom, because things have evolved so much since when I was in school. So I'm definitely grateful for this opportunity, and I'm proud of the district's collective achievements. By all means, I know that you all will continue to serve our community, our students, our families, and also the staff. No doubt about that. So with that, I'm very sad, but I know the district is left in good hands. So I want to thank you all for your support, your guidance, and I will see you around. I will. Thank you.
Christina, Mrs. Flores, we will absolutely miss you. We thank you so much for your service. You've been an amazing board member from the start. I know that I shared with you personally that usually there's just this huge learning curve, right, when somebody becomes a board member, but you just jumped right in and didn't seem to experience, the kind of not knowing what to do or whatever, but you just came in with so much confidence and such a clear head. And your heart, you just have a beautiful heart, and that has come across in all of the ways that you've governed on this school board. I'm just thinking of very specific ways right now in which your compassion and your care for the students and for the community were really guiding you. You've been a wonderful part of the equity committee as well. And yes, I wish that we could continue to serve together for quite a bit longer. But I do wish you the very best, and I'm happy for you for the changes that are coming your way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to compliment you on you are a lady that makes me think, which is not often my best feature, but you ask the most interesting questions because you always are very thoughtful before you say something. So I'm learning from you. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
And just, I would like to share, Ms. Flores reached out to me when she was initially interested in running for school board. And so thank you for taking that leap of confidence to run, and for trusting me as well through this process. I know that you would come to me a lot, obviously, with our connection. And so I'm really going to miss you, but I'm so glad that you were able to have this experience, and you were really such a great crucial member of our board, and brought in a really good different perspective. And you could tell everything that when you asked questions, when you made comments, it was always coming from that North Star of what was best for students. So thank you. We're going to miss you.
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, and thank you for all your guidance from the very start.
And I'll just add to, definitely agree with what everyone else has said, and just appreciate the time that you've given to all of this, and that you always ask really good and thoughtful questions, and appreciate when we were at CSBA and the kinds of things you were really looking into in the best interest of the district. And I know you'll continue to be a good advocate for the El Monte City School District and your new location. So thank you.
Thank you.
And there will be some decisions now that the board will have to make following your announcement. And Dr. Garcia, would you like to comment on that a little?
Absolutely. I just want to express my gratitude on behalf of all of our district community to you, Mrs. Flores, for serving so well and just for being such a wonderful board member. And just know that once you're part of this district, you will forever be part of this district family. So there's always an open door for you to come back and visit. And thank you again. With Mrs. Flores' resignation this evening, the board will need to take action in a future meeting, the next meeting. At this point, we have a vacancy on the board, and so the board will need to decide whether we want to hold a special election to fill that vacancy or if the board would like to appoint. And so I can definitely bring back some more information at the March meeting, and then you will need to take action. The board will need to take action and fulfill the seat within 60 days of the vacancy. So it does happen pretty quickly, so we can bring that information back and then we can determine a course at our very next meeting.
Thank you very much. Well, with that announcement, and I think it'll be time to give some warm handshakes and wish Mrs. Flores well. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:14.